A world without democracies would be a profoundly different place with various implications for governance, individual freedoms, social justice, and international relations. Here's a detailed exploration of what such a world might look like. Governance and political systems. Autocratic regimes. Without democracies, many countries might be governed by autocratic or totalitarian regimes. Power would be concentrated in the hands of a single leader or a small elite group. These regimes often limit political freedoms, suppress dissent, and centralize authority. Monarchies. Some countries might operate under absolute monarchies, where a king or queen has near-complete control over the state. These monarchies could range from historical models with hereditary rule to modern variants with significant power vested in the monarchy. Oligarchies. Another possibility is the prevalence of oligarchies, where a small privileged class or elite group holds power. This can lead to governance that primarily serves the interests of the elite rather than the general population. Theocratic states. In a world without democracies, theocratic regimes could become more common. These governments would be based on religious laws and leaders, with governance intertwined with religious doctrine. Individual freedoms and human rights. Limited political freedom. In non-democratic systems, political freedom is often restricted. Citizens may have little to no say in their government, and political opposition may be suppressed. This can lead to a lack of accountability and transparency in government. Censorship and propaganda. Governments in non-democratic states might use censorship and state-controlled media to control information and suppress dissenting views. This can limit public access to diverse perspectives and critical information. Civil rights. The protection of civil rights and liberties may be compromised. Freedoms of speech, assembly, and press could be curtailed, leading to less open societies where dissent is punished. Social and economic impacts. Social inequality. Autocratic and oligarchic systems often exacerbate social inequality. Wealth and power are concentrated among the elite, leading to disparities in wealth and access to resources. Lack of social mobility. Without democratic mechanisms for social change, mobility and opportunities for disadvantaged groups might be limited. Social and economic status could become more entrenched and difficult to change. Economic policies. Economic policies may be driven by the interests of the ruling elite rather than the general population. This can lead to inefficient allocation of resources and economic instability, particularly if decisions are made without broad public input or oversight. International relations. Conflict and tension. The absence of democracies could lead to more frequent conflicts, both internal and external. Non-democratic states might engage in aggressive foreign policies or conflicts to distract from domestic issues or assert dominance. Humanitarian issues. Humanitarian crises might be more common due to poor governance and human rights abuses in non-democratic regimes. International organizations and coalitions might struggle to address these issues without democratic mechanisms for international cooperation. Diplomatic relations. Diplomatic relationships could be strained. Democratic states often advocate for human rights and democratic values, and their absence might lead to a world where international norms and agreements are less respected or enforced. Innovation and progress. Scientific and cultural development. Democracies often foster environments that support innovation, free exchange of ideas, and cultural development. In a world without democracies, intellectual and cultural progress might be stifled by restrictive regimes. Adaptation and reform. Democracies have mechanisms for self-correction and adaptation through elections and public debate. In non-democratic systems, reforms and adaptation might be slower and more difficult, potentially leading to stagnation. Governance alternatives and hybrid systems. Hybrid systems. Some regions might develop hybrid systems combining elements of democracy with other governance forms, such as technocracies or semi-democratic systems. These systems could incorporate limited democratic features while maintaining non-democratic elements. Local autonomy. In a world without national democracies, there might be increased emphasis on local or regional autonomy. Local governance might take on more significance, with varying degrees of democratic practices at the local level. Conclusion. A world without democracies would likely be characterized by greater centralization of power, restricted individual freedoms, and potential for increased inequality and conflict. Governance structures would vary widely, potentially leading to a mix of autocratic, oligarchic, and theocratic systems. The absence of democratic mechanisms for public participation and accountability could impact social progress, human rights, and international relations. However, the specifics would depend on the nature of the alternative systems that emerge and how they address the needs and aspirations of their populations.